Welcome, everyone. My name is Lisa Noggle, and I am the host of this session, the Living Systems Art and Design Collaboratory Spotlight Series. This event is sponsored by the Buckminster Fuller Institute, the Design Science Studio, habRitual Studios, and the University of California, Irvine Emergent Media DesignLab. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this Spotlight series. Today, we have three wonderful presenters, each describing their projects that is related to the living systems philosophy and awareness of interdependence and living with a unified or in a unified whole. Our first presenter today is Umair Zia. Umair is a professor at the National College of Arts in Lahore, and he will say quite a lot. So just in general, I'm going to say he's a dreamer, a visionary, an artist, an architect, and an avid reader, a lover of nature, and a huge fan of Sir Richard Buckminster Fuller. His mentors are Afran Adani and Dr. Afra Seida. So without further ado, let's all please welcome Umair Zia.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So before I share my projects with you that we completed through this Design Science Studio and the Living Systems Collaboratory, I'd like to give like a brief overview of where I'm coming from, because that will make a lot of sense then. In few sentences, if we could look back at biomimicry, learning from the living systems and learning from nature, then I think it starts with learning from the basic forms, the shapes, the colors. We call it biomorphism, which is a very literal way of learning from the living systems. And then we enter this collective consciousness, collective learning from the mechanics of the living systems, the biomechanics, Leonardo da Vinci, and looking at organisms like machines. And then we enter a new phase, new era, in which we are looking at the forms and functions of the living systems. And we are essentially saying that, look, the visual, the apparent shape or the form of the organism is not so important as the underlying hidden processes. So learning from the processes of nature, the forms and the functions of the nature, that's biomimicry. And then we have Larry Oxman essentially saying that these multiple performances that are occurring in nature at the same time are the outcome of these different material ecologies, the molecular level reorganizations of the materials, which are resulting those beautiful complex processes. And then we have this idea that it's not only the form and its function and the material that the form is comprised of, but also the interrelationships of different forms and different functions, which result in the emergence of those behaviors of an organism. For example, those attributes, those qualities and performances and functions even that are not there in the isolated forms and functions. And that is synergy, and that is Sir Richard Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller obviously inspired me most. He's like the guiding star for me. One thing which I haven't discussed before in the Design Science Studio is my continuous attempt to understand the comprehensive anticipatory design science. And I've come to realize that Sir Richard Buckminster Fuller was looking at the living systems in in a way, through a perspective, which gave him this model. He learned it from the living system in a way, and this model replaces the empirical sciences, the existing, probably already obsolete model of the empirical sciences, which is based on the cause and effect relationship, proportionate relationship, like Mansoor says. And what we learn from this new model, this comprehensive new model, is that the knowledge of the effect that we're trying to understand in the natural world is dependent upon the knowledge of the cause that is giving us the cues towards that understanding. And we do not have the full knowledge of that cause. And we don't know where it's coming from, where it's aspiring to go, that particular cause, that variable we're looking at, what are its dreams, what are its aspirations and motivations. And we don't know that. We're just looking at this image and take it and start making connections with the effects. And we don't have that. And secondly, I think that it is also this sort of this outside perspective of the living system that is not enabling us to see how the complex systems work, how the living systems are. This outside perspective compels us to make sense of the living systems like they were machines. There's cause and effect and the proportionate relationships. For the first time, I think that Fuller talked about the comprehensive anticipatory design, which sort of puts us into the system, and that gives us like a new perspective. And another way, the second way, I think that the second sort of my interpretation of the anticipatory part of the comprehensive anticipatory design science is that he is in this time when the complexity sciences are like really gaining momentum and more understanding and all that. And he was looking at this equation, this underlying algorithm of the living systems, that is like this, that is the A plus B sign of reversible, not sign of equality, but reversal sign, gives you C plus an anomaly. And that anomaly, because of that reversible sign, goes back to that A plus B and gives you like a new C. From the empirical sciences perspective, we call that anomaly an aberration, an error. It's an anomaly. But when Fuller was calling this new model the anticipatory model, he was rather focusing on that anomaly, which is the result of all the diversity and the variation. And that anomaly, I think, is the artist in the society. It's the artist in all of us. And it is that instinctive, intuitive capacity of human beings and the life forms, all life on Earth, that he was trying to bring attention towards. And this new scientific model, I think, that will be emerging, if it already like isn't this comprehensive anticipatory design science, if like some new model is emerging, I think the core ingredient of that model would be human intuition, our capacity to feel something, because presently the sciences push you away. They call it your personal bias. You can't taint your research process with your human instinct and emotion. So this is how this is the point where I started my projects from, and I completed 3 projects in the last 6 months. I'll give you like just a quick glimpse of them, of all 3 of them. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And okay, so these drawings are from Treetech 50 lessons for life. It's a collaboratory project. Nico, Roxy, Daniel and Hollis, Becca, Matt, we actively participated, and then there's like an entire team, it's a collaborative project. Okay, so connecting this lesson that I just spoke, I just talked about like an hour ago in another talk. This lesson, connecting it with my introduction, this is one of the lessons from this book. And so I was, once you have this new comprehensive anticipatory design science perspective towards the living systems, then the whole reality sort of transforms, and like you find new lessons and new meanings from it, and like new ways to invent new technology. And from this perspective, when I looked at a tree, I felt like a cell that is interacting with the bronchi in our lungs and is exchanging oxygen and all that. Trees have very similar structure to those bronchi, and the way we connect with the trees, there is like it's very evident based on the physical construct of human beings and the trees that I can't say like it proves it, but there's a very compelling evidence that maybe this is the way cells interact with those bronchi in our lungs. So if you zoom in and you zoom out, and that you see this consistency in the fractal universe. So this is one lesson, like if for those of us like who are willing, like who are observing the living systems from this perspective, you see this connection with the trees. And who's to say that the cells inside our body do not have the dreams and ambitions? This is the information that is missing in the existing empirical sciences model. So that was one lesson. Another lesson was very relevant to the contemporary, this present pandemic that we are all facing. If you look at the trees, they keep safe distance from each other. It's remarkable. We call it crown shyness. They grow in a way that they maintain certain voids and certain distance, certain like space between them. And we have learned in this pandemic that this distance could be the distance, between the life and death. And in architecture, we call it building proxemics. So building proxemics are the interrelationships of different forms that we place in a master plan. And it is also that sort of principle by which if you send a lot of people in a big hall, in a few hours, you will see that they start grouping up, like they won't be scattered equally in that room. And that is study of proxemics. And we learn from the trees that it is in that distance, that space, where the real substance is, that determines the integrity of the whole design. In this case, the design of the forest. So this book is out. Please pre-order it. It's published by Nautical Media. You can visit this link, pre-order it. And also know that this is not just the book. Nico and I, especially, all of us have been collaborating, but Nico is the creative director of this project. We have been exploring different ways, and there is this world topia.io/Treetech. You can visit it, and you will find like a completely new immersive experience of the book in that virtual space. And Nico also came up with this idea of an app that we are going to be starting a Kickstarter campaign very soon. If you go to the publisher's page, you will find a sign up link. You can enter your email address and they will notify you when the campaign has started. In this app, it will be a personalized app, and you will be able to receive, sense the pulse of the tree when you go near it, and you will be able to receive a lesson from it. And it will be very personalized, beautiful app we're trying to build. Then there's a special edition book and all of that. So this project started with the book concept, but it has really branched out in so many other transmedia expressions. These are some important links if you are interested in the project. The most important one is designscience.studio/Treetech. And then this is the book, Topia, and my portfolio. The next project was uh, designed around the human civilization. So I tried to connect three dots in the last 6 months. One was the plant kingdom, that was the book Treetech. The other one was Animal Kingdom. I'll talk about that shortly. The Nature Gadget Living Systems Collaboratory, it's the centered project. And the third one was Human Civilization. It is this project. In this project, I created three drawings. Um, in this drawing, the idea was that uh, there has always been this dream, sort of this ambition to conserve energy and regenerate resources. It's imperative for us to realize that we haven't done all bad things in the past. This aspiration has always been with us, and perpetual motion devices and those technologies are just like one of the many physical manifestations of that dream. So in this drawing, like I say, that there are all lies in it. Like the Indus Valley civilization that I tried to draw on it, the Great Path wasn't exactly like this. A little bit, some resemblance, but not exactly like this. And the perpetual motion device that I've used in this Great Path is the Boyle's flask. It doesn't really work. It needs some level of external input of energy to work. So it doesn't work. But amidst all these lies, there's this central truth, that dream of the civilizations, of human civilization, ancient human civilizations, to conserve energy. And that gives us profound confidence and like a direction and pride in ourselves, and gives us confidence to really pursue this dream and fulfill it. This is another drawing. I sort of connected the Pyramid of Giza with this technology, like a concept. It's a conceptual, like it's a concept again, that you can keep a bulb shining with this circular magnet through through the conversion of a magnetic field to electrical current. So I used this idea again, this dream, connected with that ancient megastructure, forgotten megastructure, and created this image of the dream in which the tip of the pyramid is shining, and I was imagining it like glowing at night in the desert, and it's a very surreal experience. And this is another megastructure, Colosseum, Rome, in which I've used this perpetual pendulum. All the golden marks in these drawings, the golden parts of these drawings, are done by my wife, Marshall. She filled them with the shell gold. It's like real gold, diluted gold. The rest is pen and ink on paper. So in this drawings, the perpetual motion pendulum. This project converted into uh, different forms. The first one was an art puzzle, then art prints, and the real original artwork. Finally, the last project was Nature Gadgets. In project, this project was based on on my premise that that life is the synergistic outcome of the design processes in nature. So basically, when different particles, their bonds, their forms and functions, cells, atoms, when they combine together in a certain way, the emergent synergistic outcome of that process is life, and with life comes all the dreams and experiences and all of that. So now the idea was that in nature, not all our organisms copy other organisms, but all life forms, including ourselves, all life forms have a natural way of thinking. And for us, then, for human beings, if we want to synchronize our minds with the nature's way of thinking, then we will be making our technology alive by integrating the technological systems in a synergistic way. So that would be like a new kind of, I could say, biomimicry, in a way that we're not directly learning from an organism, but making connection between technologies which are like human-centric systems. So, and how do you make the technology alive then? So that was the project. I'll just share one example with you guys. Out of time. So there are like many examples that I've conceptualized. These gadgets. This project culminated into this design blog. In this example, for example, this is a water flea, Daphnia, and its appendages are such that they help this little organism navigate through water, but they also help help it eat, and the edible particles in water. So it's performing multiple functions at the same time. And so I thought that if you've ever ridden a horse, you will know that there's a difference between riding a motorbike and riding a horse, and that difference is connecting back to what I was saying first, that heart, the connection of the heart. When you're sitting on a horse, your heart is connected with it, and just with the flick of your hand, and you can like make it move, and it can sense your fear, and it's a very emotional connection, not necessarily scientifically quantified just yet, but very emotional connection. So I was thinking that if I had to design a motorbike experience, a very similar living systems inspired experience, then what how would I design it? And I took inspiration from this little fellow, and I realized that we are making so many different things: the handlebar, the accelerators, the brake, the gears, the clutches, all of that, just to basically control the wheel. And this is not nature's way of designing. Nature does it with minimum dedicated organs, achieves maximum functions out of the trim tab principle. So I thought that I designed this wheel. I proposed, conceptualized this wheel that can accelerate, that can receive sensory input from the grip of your hand, which is a fixed like arm, which is like fixed armature of the bike, and it can speed up and it can turn based on the embedded tension of the bristles on it. So I do my research of the technological systems. So if you go to naturegadget.com and you look at this case study, for example, you will see that I've shared all those technologies. Mercedes has recently designed a wheel very similar to that, not quite exactly like that. So I look at those technologies and I try to combine existing technologies, material, and other functions to create these technology, to create these nature gadgets. So please visit this website. This is my portfolio. You can check out other projects here. And that is it. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing.
Fantastic. That was amazing, Umar. There's so many, many, many things to ask you about. But we only have a limited time, so I'm just going to maybe we have time for one or two questions then, because you explained the connection with living systems so well. So I think I'll go into something more personal, maybe regarding your experience. You've been discussing these very complex systems and synergy and all, and I'm wondering about your own consciousness. If everything, has a consciousness and a synergy with other things, living and non-living, how can you describe your process? Maybe a paradigm shift.
Yeah, that's a
Was there
great
something
question.
in the way?
So, yes.
Something in the way that you view things that was very significant and for you?
Yes, absolutely. This is what this is how I will answer this question for myself, and how it has influenced my teaching. So I think that all of us, the way we think, the way we observe and experience reality around us, uh, has to do with what I call the physical construct of our very being. And our brains are different, and our everything about us is different. Uh, and therefore, I think that if we are doing whatever we do to the best of our ability, then we are doing it the nature's way. That is the most synchronous way with the nature is doing. Where there is so much noise around us and so much influence that, and so much unnecessary impressions that we take from people and different affairs around us, that we forget being ourselves, let alone being the best version of ourselves. And that is why when I'm creating a little drawing, for example, it's not going to change anything. It's just something on a piece of paper. But I think that is nature at its best when I'm really involved in that little piece of drawing. And on that account, to that end, I think that if I'm able to get the best version of my students, for example, instead of telling them that, look, this is how I do it and this is how all of you should like try to do it, that would be counter nature. So I should be able to understand what they are going to become and maybe just help them. Like Nico enabled me through Treetech project in a very indirect, subtle way without actually telling me what to do. So maybe if I could help them, guide them in certain direction, I think that is more synchronous with with nature's way. Yeah.
Well, let me just add to that. I know we have to end in just a second, but would you say when you were talking earlier about we don't see the cues to things, that this cueing is maybe, you said we don't really know the desires of certain things. Would you say that that is, and you also mentioned integrity. So maybe the desire towards things is towards integrity.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the key concept here, that we must understand that all things in the universe are trying to preserve their integrity. All things in the universe. And that is a key concept here. And that is why, like, for example, I don't like this concept of zoos, keeping animals in cage in a place, and this is a very silly concept. Maybe it fulfills a very kind of greedy desire of human beings to, like, I don't know, experience all of that. But we're certainly moving towards a higher understanding, higher consciousness, like Mansoor says, where we understand, we respect everyone in their own process of achieving that integrity. And and it's really that process of finding that integrity, continuous process. So absolutely correct. That's a central theme for my project. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a fine note to end on for right now. We're just out of time. So thank you, Umair Zia, for your insights. For those of you who are just tuning in, this event is part of the Living Systems Art and Design Collaboratory, sponsored by the Buckminster Fuller Institute, the Design Science Studio, habRitual Studio, the University of California, Irvine, Emergent Media DesignLab. It's been our pleasure. Please continue to join us for the rest of the Spotlight series, which is part of the Regenera Rising project that's developed out of the Buckminster Fuller Institute and Design Science Studio. And so we look forward to seeing you, and hopefully you'll have a wonderful day. Thank you.